So we have learned a very valuable lesson from the Survivor Series 2019, because after years of brand versus brand and Raw versus SmackDown, we now know that 1, if Vince McMahon is losing a ratings battle, he will go all in and he'll even sacrifice Raw, and 2, if you put one of your programs on Fox, that will also elevate it when it comes to blue versus red, now versus yellow. But we'll talk about it, we'll get into all of that, because my name is Simon Miller, and one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year is done. It's in the books, we don't have to think about it no more, so we take the finger of power, the fop, and we give the good bits an up, and we give the bad bits a down. And I will address everything that happens when it comes to the overall tally at the end of the show, you flippin' idiots. Let's up those downs. The pre-show was absolutely nuts because a bunch of matches just popped up from nowhere. Because as well as the triple threat match, we also had an inter-brand tag team battle royal, which was just strange, and we had a cruiserweight encounter. But I tell you this, it almost made up for 12 months ago when we did have a pre-show, then WWE went, ha ha ha, we don't care about the pre-show. And Xavier Woods had to come out reminding everyone that there even was a pre-show. Because of that, up. Rude and Ziggler won the Battle Royal after getting rid of the Street Profits. Lio Rush retained his Cruiserweight Championship after beating Tozawa and Kalisto. And in that triple threat match, the Viking Raiders were able to do away with the Undisputed Era and the New Day. And man, it's kind of a shame this did get put off the Kickoff show. I was looking forward to it, but because it was here, it all fell a little bit flat. Now, really, there's no bad spot on the card, but I do think here we do need to address the fact that Kofi Kingston has gone from main eventing to being in this position, because it's just sad. Also, on top of that, for all those crazy people that came at me on Twitter going, just you wait, Simon, WWE's going to do a big story with Kofi, he's going to be really, really upset he lost the WWE title. That has not happened. So now, within the world of the narrative, Kingston just lost, got his ass absolutely whooped by Brock Lesnar. Now he doesn't care, and he was never allowed to care to begin with. Again, sadness down. And then it was time for our first proper match, and it was the women's 5-on-5-on-5 elimination scrap, and I have to read it out because 15 people, I mean, come on, it would be a nightmare for us all. But it was Team SmackDown featuring Sasha Banks, Nikki Cross, Lacey Evans, Dana Brooke, and Carmella, taking on Team Raw featuring Charlotte, Natalya, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Sarah Logan. I just want to point out that the sighting of Sarah Logan here means we can cancel the Milk Carton campaign, and they were taking on Team NXT, which was Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm, Bianca Belair, Io Shirai, and Candice LeRae. My word. But up. The interesting twist, and I hadn't really thought about this, was that because there were 3 teams, this was fought under triple threat rules. That did make it quite interesting, and we also saw Team NXT come up with an idea that was part heelish, part quite clever, but part also really dumb when you take a step back and think about it. Why? Well, because at one point it did seem like Io Shirai and Candice LeRae had been injured. It was quite clear this was a work because they were helped to the back, just like being lifted up and dragged over somebody else's shoulder. And when a wrestler actually goes down with an injury, we'll have stretchers and paramedics, and you just get a feeling in the air. So they were either lying or had amazing powers of recovery, because when we went down to the last 2, which was Sasha Banks and Rhea Ripley, these 2 reappeared, and it was their reappearance that allowed Rhea Ripley to hit the riptide and get the 1, 2, 3. But because I am a wrestling nerd, because I'm a wrestling mark, I straight away went, wait a minute. So NXT decided to sacrifice 2 of their competitors on the off chance that one of them made it down to the final 2. I mean, that is just a really bad idea all around. It could have gone very wrong. I mean, you're lucky that it didn't, but still. Outside of that, I will run down everything else that happened, but I do need my notes, which is a rarity, but it was kind of like a car crash. So much was happening, my eyes started to bleed. But Belair pinned Cross and got rid of Logan after a 450 splash. Flair beat Carmella with natural selection. Banks pinned Kairi after a Meteora. Asuka got rid of Brooke by kicking her in the face. And then Asuka got really mad and she lost it with Charlotte. So she went up to Charlotte and went and just spat green mist in her face. And because Charlotte did have green mist in her face, she walked right into the women's rights by Lacey Evans. Goodbye, Charlotte. That's going to be a feud. Natty then pinned Lacey with the most devastating move in all of professional wrestling, the surprise roll-up, which of course means as well that feud is never going to end. Toni Storm tapped out, but only after she was both in the sharpshooter and the bank statement, so you know that WWE is trying to protect her. That continued when Sasha and Natty teamed up once again to hit the heart attack and get rid of Bianca Belair, but then Natalya looked like a right dork, because she was stood next to Sasha and she was all like, oh, me and the Banks, we're going to team up and we're going to take out Rhea Ripley. And Sasha Banks just punched her in the face and beat her. Nay, you are an absolute fool. That, of course, did leave Sasha Banks and Rhea Ripley, and we've already gone into that, and I was genuinely surprised that NXT got the win here, but hey-ho, as we've already suggested, if you want more people to watch your show on Wednesday nights, and you want less people to watch AEW, you may as well make out like they're the dominant brand, which is exactly what WWE did. But hey, shout out to Rhea Ripley as well, who in the past few weeks has beaten Shayna Baszler, been in that War Games match. I think she pinned Sasha Banks on Raw or SmackDown, and she's winning here. We got a new star on our hands. WWE then tried to make sense of Kevin Owens being on Team Raw, and of course they absolutely failed. He was talking to Seth Rollins here, and he was saying, look, I understand that Team Raw needs me, like he was Poochie or something. You don't have to worry about it, even though 24 hours prior. I mean, it made sense why he went down to NXT. He wanted to get revenge on the Undisputed Era after they had beaten him up on Raw. But then why would he be going against Tommaso Ciampa and Keith Lee and all those guys? But like I say, last night it was like, yo, buddy, pro, I'm so happy, I'm so excited. Just don't worry about it, stuff just happens. We then got our first shock of the evening for two reasons. It was Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles versus Roderick Strong. And not only did we have a shock winner, but also this kind of fell flat, and it made me really upset, and my voice goes weird down. And really this is all to do with the crowd, because they just didn't seem interested, and I spent the entire thing scratching my head going, why don't we care about Styles versus Nakamura versus Strong? I mean, it could be because they knew what else they had to come. There was The Fiend, there was Daniel Bryan, we had the Raw elimination match and Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio and Becky Lynch, so there was a lot. But because of that, there was a real disconnect between the audience and the performers, and it kind of made me, as the man sitting at home, well, I struggled to get into it too. And again, I'm very upset about this. This is not what I was expecting. And don't get me wrong, if you paid your money and you bought a ticket, you can do whatever the hell you want when you get to the arena. You can cheer, you can boo, you can take your finger and stick it in someone's ear, but don't do that to me. I'd be very frustrated if somebody stuck their finger in my listening hole. But because of that, it just felt like there was something missing, which was a double shame because, like I say, Roderick Strong actually won. AJ Styles hit the phenomenal forearm onto Nakamura, and Roddy, being the smart boy he is, just got in there, chucked AJ out, and he stole the pin. I mean, that got a reaction, which was nice, I guess, because people were like, what? But overall, it's like the whole Shinsuke versus AJ at WrestleMania thing. We all had such high hopes, and yet for some reason, they fall onto the floor. Just quietly and secretly, I wonder if we would have felt the same had we seen this on NXT. And it was almost the same for Adam Cole versus Pete Dunne, but thankfully, when they came to their finishing sequence, everybody came alive. But yeah, whether or not the crowd was just more into Raw and SmackDown, so they didn't care about anything that happens on Wednesday nights, I don't know. But they also seemed a little bit quiet when it did come to this NXT title match. But nobody could have kept stum, like I say, when we got to the ending, because it was absolutely brilliant. It got really good when Pete Dunne went for a moonsault and got super kicked right in the face, and we also had Adam Cole and Pete Dunne kicking out of all of their big moves, and that's why after Pete Dunne had grabbed the fingers and snapped them and went for the bitter end for the second time, everyone thought, oh, he's going to do it, but somehow, and I've watched it about 67,222 times, and I still can't figure it out, Adam Cole reversed the bitter end into the Panama Sunrise and then hit the last shot in order to retain his championship. Again, it's one of those moments you need to go out, you need to see the GIF, you need to see the video, you need to see whatever you need to see. It just is so smooth. It was so smooth and it was so well executed. If I could ever perform something like that in the ring, I would tell everybody, to the point people like Miller, shut up, we don't care. And I'd tell them again because I'd be so proud. Also, we mentioned about the tear that Rhea Ripley's been on. It's the same for Adam Damn Cole. He has had a pretty good November. In a true moment of diversity too, we went from that to The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal Championship. And this really was a match of two halves. Thankfully, the second half was really entertaining. But the issue at first was that we have decided that when we do these Fiend matches and he's in control, he has to go really, really slowly. And I don't understand that. I've seen old Bray Wyatt matches, and I know for a guy his size, he's actually quite quick and he's got some pace to him. So why do we have to go really, really Slowly. We don't. As soon as Daniel Bryan started to make his comeback though, all of a sudden we had some fire lit under the ring, because not only did he hit 2 sets of yes kicks as the fans went absolutely crazy, but he embraced the yes chants once again, and he hit the Fiend with his running knee. And I tell you, I bought it, the crowd bought it, everybody bought it. If my grandma watched wrestling, she'd buy it too, but unfortunately she passed away a few years ago. That is true. Kind of regret saying that, but it wasn't, and the Fiend kicked out at around about 2.7. I was digging this super hard. I regret saying that, take it back, start again, but I was digging this super hard too, especially when Daniel Bryan was on the top rope. He had a mandible claw stuck into his mouth, but he reversed it into an armbar. It genuinely seemed like Daniel was going to take this one. But hey, look, it did indeed end when Wyatt got the second mandible claw onto Bryan, but this time in the middle of the ring, and was able to hold his shoulders down for the 1, 2, 3. But I can't be mad at that, because Bray Wyatt just defeated Daniel Bryan, who is a major star. And as we now try and forget everything that happened in Hell in a Cell, this ain't too bad. Don't forget, that's what we wanted. We wanted the Fiend to take out everybody that he could. So far, taking out Seth Rollins, taking out Daniel Bryan, still the Universal Champion. That's not so bad all around. I just hope we get some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Some kind of diversity into his matches, because like I said, the first few minutes I was like, yeah, this ain't really working this time. Rey Mysterio then cut a promo after this and said that he's going to destroy Brock Lesnar, and he's going to do it with a pipe. And I realized that actually Rey is a very bad parent, because not only did he bring his son to the workplace, where his son then got beaten up, but he's now telling his offspring, when these things happen, child of mine, don't worry about getting a weapon and trying to mutilate somebody. That's what I will do. And we will get to that in a second, because first off, we had to have the 5-on-5-on-5 elimination match for the men. And once again, they had a really good time with this too. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. WWE is very good when they chuck a load of guys into a ring and let them go crazy. Giving it up. And the notes return to make it easier for all, because it was Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, Ricochet, Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre, that's Team Raw, taking on Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, Ali, Shorty G and King Corbin, that's Team SmackDown, taking on Damian Priest, Tommaso Ciampa, Walter, Matt Riddle and Keith Lee. It didn't start off great, because everybody was really pissed that Drew McIntyre Claymore kicked Walter right in the face, and it meant that he was the first person to be eliminated. Now, it didn't surprise me, because Walter has made no bones about it. He doesn't want to be on the main roster, and I bet as soon as Vinnie Mac heard that, he was like, well, then he ain't going to be able to do anything, pal. We still got to see him and Drew absolutely chop the shit out of each other, and some of the noises that Walter was able to make with his hand ricocheting, no pun intended, off Drew's chest was absolutely disgusting. And just to catch you up, in case you don't know, Shorty G was pinned by Owens after a frog splash, so man, that new name really working out for the old Shorty G. Ciampa pinned Kevin after an EDT. Orton bested Priest after an RKO. Matt Riddle dispatched of Randy Orton after the devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. But then Corbin pinned Riddle, and that took away any momentum that Riddle had got from pinning Randy Orton and put it in the bin. Braun Strowman was out next after he got Claymore kicked on the outside and got counted out. And that's where we have to introduce, not really a new segment, but something's about to happen now, because Miller is going to go on a rant. Because this was crap. I am genuinely so bored of WWE not being able to make up their mind with what they want to do with Braun Strowman. Because clearly the thinking here was, well, we don't really want to pin Braun Strowman and we don't want him to tap out because he's a big guy. So instead, we'll just have him counted out. What did we do a few weeks ago at Crown Jewel? Well, we had to have Tyson Fury win because he's a celebrity, but we like Braun Strowman, he can't lose, he can't be pinned, can't be submitted, so we'll just have him counted out. And then even if you throw back to a couple of years ago, because that's how long it's been going on, and we remember the Elimination Chamber, it was, oh, well, we don't want Braun Strowman to lose, we want to look strong, he's a big guy, come on Braun, but oh, we got Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns is a project right now, so what we'll do is Braun Strowman will beat everyone, but then when push comes to shove, he'll be beaten by Roman Reigns. You cannot simultaneously have a guy that you want to push, but is also the guy that almost comes close and never gets there. It becomes really, really, really boring. And I know there's no need for anyone to get so worked up about pro wrestling, but I watch it and I was just like, what even is Braun Strowman now? His accolade, his biggest accolade, is the fact that he won the tag team championships with a 10-year-old. Down. Anyway, everyone calm down, it's all good. It's not like we're losing our head. Tawny Baldy then pinned Ricochet after the end of days. Rollins popped up and got rid of Ali. After the stomp, Roman did the same with a spear onto Drew, and then Corbin only got eliminated because he pissed off Roman Reigns, meaning he got speared, and then Tommaso Ciampa took advantage of that, and he was able to get the pin. Rollins then finally got back on top when he got rid of Tommaso Ciampa after Tommaso had been speared, and then eventually got curb stomped too. Then everything got super awesome, and again, credit to all of this because it was fun from start to finish. But Keith Lee, the person that should be the future of all of professional wrestling, actually eliminated Seth Rollins after his modified jackhammer. And Nigel McGuinness sold this perfectly, by the way. We should probably look at Nigel McGuinness on the main roster yesterday, and I couldn't believe it. And also because it meant the final to win this match was Roman Reigns taking on Keith Lee. Do you know, sometimes I go to sleep at night and I've dreamt about this match, and here on November the 25th, 24th, whatever it is, my dreams are coming true. And even though this would be bad news for me, because you know, ups and clowns, we're going to talk about it at the end, I still wanted NXT to win because again, I think Keith Lee is a damn hero, but unfortunately that's not what happened. Reigns kicked out of a spirit bomb, which honestly looked like a 3 count, but it wasn't. And after the spear, Keith Lee went down and Roman Reigns was able to get the win for SmackDown. That does always happen, but hey, the 2 fist pumped afterwards, I think it did the world of good for Keith Lee, especially if you didn't know who he was before all of this. It was a genuinely good time. Felt like I was at a party watching this. I do like it when WWE puts on these kind of matches. Which was kind of true for what followed next, but I did have mixed emotions, because I guess this kind of divided me from a kayfabe point of view and a non-kayfabe point of view. It was Rey Mysterio versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE title. Let's get into it. In terms of the match itself, I thought it was absolutely great, even though it kind of did tick a lot of the Brock Lesnar boxes. Because Brock was on top at the start and he was wailing on Rey, even though Rey had that stupid pipe, which is slowly morphing into a lightsaber. But then from nowhere, Dominic appeared and he had a white towel. Somebody should have said to him, dude, it's a no-holds-barred match. Unless you're coming to wipe the sweat off Brock's head, you're wasting your time. But instead, he served as a distraction, because Rey Mysterio then booted Brock Lesnar in the balls. Dominic went, well, if my dad's doing it, I'm going to do it too. He got booted in the balls again, and all of a sudden, it actually seemed like Rey Mysterio was going to win. We had a double 619, a frog splash from Dominic, and a frog splash from Rey, and again, we had such a close near fall, I actually thought WWE was going to pull the trigger. And I wasn't alone, because the live crowd absolutely lost their flip too. Unfortunately, Dom then scarpered to the top rope where he got caught by Brock Lesnar and German suplex right into hell. And when Rey Mysterio jumped off the other corner, he also got caught. He got F5'd. He got pinned. 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar is still your WWE champion. Now again, this was an absolute hoot, so it gets it up. But afterwards, I felt really deflated. There was such a nice story to tell here about Rey and his son coming together to vanquish this beast, and we didn't tell it, even though you probably got the idea that everybody wanted that to happen. And also, what have we achieved here? We're still doing the status quo. Brock is still your champion, and he's not going to be on Raw, and he'll come and go. I don't think I needed to see that anymore, and I think I'd be much more pumped for tonight's show if I thought, oh wow, we've got a new champion. Also, isn't wrestling meant to be about these satisfying narratives that pay off and make you feel good inside? And what would have been better, again, than a family coming together to get rid of the big dastardly heel? I just thought that was WWE being too WWE, which is a contradiction in terms, but when you think about it like that, down. Which brings us to our main event, and seemingly nobody else liked this, but you know who did? I did. I thought it did everything it needed to do. And it's getting an up. Come at me, pal. It was Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch versus Bayley, and all I care about here is that Shayna Baszler won, the NXT champion, the undefeated champion won. Do you know what that does for her development and her evolution as a character? It does the world of good. I think it's huge, and also it would have been mad for her to hold on to that title for around about 67.2 years and then lost here, because you would have deflated her like a balloon pop. And the only real criticism I had is that she defeated Bayley and not Becky Lynch, for reasons I've made clear on other videos that I've done here on WhatCulture Wrestling. But yes, Bayley, she jumped off with her patented in elbow, but instead landed in the Kirifuda clutch, and nobody gets out of that, and the SmackDown Women's Champ tapped out to the NXT Women's Champ. As mentioned, I think if she had done that to Becky, it would have just blown everybody's minds, and I want that from my professional wrestling, but we still did okay here, because I think we planted the seeds for a WrestleMania 36 match between Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler, and that is what I want from my life, especially because afterwards, as Baszler was celebrating, Lynch absolutely lost her rag, and she chucked Shayna through a table, which when we finished with Becky going, oh, I'm the champion. I can't do Irish. And so yeah, you could probably argue that maybe the match structure was a bit off and we could have reordered it, but who cares? Especially because the women main evented another pay-per-view and no one's really talking about that, and it's good because it means we've got to a point in this crazy thing we called life, and women can main event a pay-per-view, and it's just normal. And it's okay. We focus more on the booking. That gets 2 thumbs up for me, but for the record, I think they should have ended it last. To me, Shayna Baszler being the last thing you saw, absolutely brilliant. I'm a big Shayna Baszler fan. Which brings us to the spinning arrow, which grades the overall show, and of course it does get an up. But now I need to address the travesty that happened on this evening. And damn you, Vince McMahon, damn you so hard. Just because you're actually worried about AEW and SmackDown's on Fox and you want to impress them, you don't care about the USA Network anymore because you've been on the USA Network since we were born. Yes, NXT won the night. It was 4 for Wednesdays, 2 for Fridays, and 1 for Mondays. And if you don't know, me and Adam Cleary, well, we clashed much as they clashed on WWE TV. And if Raw or SmackDown didn't win, the loser would have to dress up like a clown. So, on an episode of Ups and Downs this week, I will live up to my word and I will dress up like a clown, but I'm not happy about it. You want to know why? Years I've been building my reputation as a serious wrestling journalist, and now I gotta dress up like Bozo. I mean, it just absolutely stinks. You know what? I'm in control here. I have the power. So you know what? Watch this. Down. Yeah, that's right. Biased up your ass. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's Survivor Series. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE. Watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you very much for watching, and I am not looking forward to dressing up like a clown. I mean, my mum has been calling me a clown since the day I popped out into this world, but it doesn't mean I actually wanted to look like one too. It's the lowest point of my darn life. Not true at all. I've done a lot worse. But hey, that's what's going to happen. I'll see you soon, probably dressed like a clown.